Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7 out today. Got some more account overviews for you guys. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Spring 2026 season and all of my units and builds that I brought along with me into those matches. And if you don't want to miss out on future RTA matches, maybe you're new to the channel and you're just trying to check out some units and builds, do be sure to subscribe so you can see these units in action as we play RTA multiple times during the week and showcase our, well, suffering to you guys. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. Actually, not Abigail first in the list anymore. We have Aki to start things off here, and as you can see, my Aki is built decently optimized, I would say. The Torrent set is really good at bringing down his max health so that he can actually soul burn 3 times. Since his release, we've been using him on and off, and he's been really nice, especially into Monica the Sword of Iseria, who's spiked in popularity near the end of the season. He's currently on Ritual of Sealing Flames, which is great to top off his resistance at around 100%. Kind of good in the warfare rules, right? We gain 100 extra resistance just so his barrier doesn't get stripped. And of course, you do want to use this because it lets him start with a barrier, and that barrier is really important for allowing him to soul burn extra time. Alright, next up we have Edward Elric. I think I used him like maybe once this season against a single like debuff heavy deck. I think against Witch and Amir Tenebri he was like a really gimmicky unit to use, but yeah, he's not that great right now, unfortunately, but this is the current build, speed and penetration. His build honestly hasn't changed in quite a while. Golden Rose for the extra damage and some of the healing, which is kind of nice for some sustainability. Guard Captain Krau, though, on the other hand, did see a bit of use, more so towards the beginning of the season, I'd say. He has since gotten an EE, which is kind of nice. He's on Thorn of the Blue Rose, which allows him to soul burn on his first turn, does extra damage. He's pretty decent. I like him at a higher speed, like 270 speed is pretty decent, because his ability to kind of just nuke your opponent, like just get rid of a problematic unit, like Bystander Hua Young, right out the gate, is amazing. And the problem though with him is that Empyrean Ilynav is just such a popular unit, pretty much in like, I'd say 70 to 80% of my games, right? She's just there, and a thorn because units like Guard Captain Krau can't use defense penetration. You're gonna see that as kind of a theme as we go along here. Next up we have Holiday Euphine. She was used against Fire Litica, but Fire Litica's popularity has kind of fallen, right, we can say. She's pretty decent against any type of unit that does AoEs at the start, so technically you can use her against units like Ron. She isn't super consistent, I will say. You do have a chance to get hit, and if you don't evade, then you don't get, you know, Guide to a Decision, all that other stuff that helps you out in terms of combat readiness gains, right? If they do too much damage and all that stuff, it could be really bad. So I do have her on the bulkier side, less attack, it's not really needed. Decent speed here. With Guide to a Decision and her passive, like, there's a chance that you get to cut your opponent, which is kind of nice. Speed and immunity, definitely want immunity here. You definitely don't want her controlled as much as possible. I did put 100 crit rate on her with a crit rate necklace. It's mostly to make sure that she can have some form of damage, because that is what she was kind of lacking. Sometimes you need her extra damage to finish off opponents. Next up is Stark. Unfortunately, not really useful, right? But here's a build for you guys who are Stark enthusiasts, right? Golden Rose for him to heal and to do damage, kind of like Ed. And yeah, this is his current stat line here with counter and immunity sets. Pretty good gear scores all around. It's just unfortunate that he's not really usable. I do want to try him out with Monica the Sword of Iseria in the future, though. Right, next up, Adventurer Roz was just the build that I have on him. I honestly never used him this season. He's on Aureus here, and you can see even his ring is just absolute garbage, but he can be used. I think, picked him in the past with Tori. I actually don't know if I picked that this season, but used him with Tori before. He doesn't really matter in terms of his stat line here. Give him a bunch of HP, a bit of speed, a little bit of effectiveness, and he's good to go. Protects the Tori in the back line. That's all you need. Next up is Lilias. We did use her as kind of a weird anti-Ahmed pick, right? I'm on speed and immunity set here. We're on Halag Lance, so if they decide to hit anybody else, then she would also jump up in combat readiness, which is kind of good. Good against like Zeo type teams, right? You get to push up your combat readiness, which is kind of nice. But I have her on the increasing combat readiness by 20% on this skill 2. So when the Ahmed goes, I also built her with a bunch of effectiveness. So if Ahmed at skill 2s and takes the extra turn, you can provoke her, and then once you provoke her, she can only skill 1 into you, and then she can't skill 3. I think out of the 2 or 3 times I used her, I think I've used her like 3 times, and then 2 of the 3 times she got 15%ed, so that was awful. It was a terrible experience, unfortunately. Next up, we have Jenua, who honestly didn't show up at all. Like, he was not a thing in this meta, just because even though he's such a powerhouse, right? Even though we have Wind Rider, this penetration, or sorry, destruction set and torrent set, Empyrean Ilynav is just way too strong, mitigates pretty much all of his damage besides his basic skill 1, and he just couldn't do a thing. I do have him on a resist build though. If you are building him, highly recommend the resist build. Super nice to have, to not be able to get controlled. Alright, next up we have Setsuka. I guess one of the most hated units, right, in this season. So, I did upgrade my Setsuka halfway through the season. She's still on Lethal Whispers for her artifact, which is great for her evasion and such. But yeah, I switched from counter set over to repose set, didn't lose a single stat. It's amazing. I kept the exact same stats, if not gaining a little bit of damage, I'd say. But yeah, 160 speed, 24k health, 1000 defense, 250 something crit damage, 2000 something attack. It's pretty solid, I would say. She didn't really get to proc her full fighting spirit all too much, but she was really good at being RNG and stopping the opponent from kind of cleaving you at times, right? And also protected a team in dire circumstances. If you're losing a draft, throw an RNG like Setsuka, and then there's a chance that you just might win because you get lucky. Next up is Swift Flagbearer Sigret. I think one of the biggest pains for me was fighting her near the end of the seasons. Everybody had a Swift Flagbearer Sigret built, and she is so annoying. For some reason, mine, even with the 30% effectiveness from her Goblet of Oath and the 180 effectiveness that I have on her, and that's 210 effectiveness, she just decided to never like really stick her debuffs, and if she did, my opponents would snap out of fear like almost immediately, so it was kind of a shame. Every time I got feared though by this unit, I lost 2 turns, and then she would turn cycle around, skill 3 again, I'd lose another turn or 2 on every unit, and then pretty much just lost the match from there. So she's super obnoxious, but definitely again has that element of RNG to her. Next up we have Tori, who is getting a buff later, which is kind of cool. Again, if I did use her, I used her with Genesis Raws like near the very beginning of the season. I do not recall anymore, but I have Tori on a triple set here: Torrent, Penetration, and Immunity. Definitely one of the better ways to build her here, along with Wind Rider for extra damage and the ability to go to stealth. She is actually pretty good, kind of underrated here. If you build her with Immunity, she cannot get buffs stripped, so she will be immune to debuffs like until she takes the first turn. So a lot of people tend to go for like Bystander Hua Young, you know, Sylvan Sage Vivian, Genesis Raws for just units that are immune to debuffs. Tori technically is quote-unquote immune to debuffs as well, because she has an undispellable immunity. So that's kind of good to note, right? And if you have her with the right protection, she can offer some good damage. Next up is Afternoon Soak Flan. I think she was a big winner this season from the Warfare rules. The Rangers getting 40% damage reduction was huge. I stole so many matches with this like Afternoon Soak Flan on Bloodstone here because she can heal the team. And I'm loving this build as well. Repose set with immunity. She was just sitting there and just punishing people, and it was fantastic to see. I wish it got more damage on her, but again, I think it's perfectly fine given that we were getting healing and you had damage mitigation, allowing her to stay alive on the field for much longer than she ever had any reason doing. Alright, next up is Eligos. I didn't really get to use him at all. I think I did draft him a few times. I'd say maybe like 3 or 4 times, but that is because I've ran out of time when drafting. I think he's one of my highest CP units, as you can see on the left there. And yeah, this guy is really solid. I'm just not a really aggressive player, so therefore he just kind of sits there, doesn't do all that much. I feel like mine's more damage oriented. Some people have like 300 plus speed Eligos that they use as an opener. Definitely don't have the gear for something like that myself. Alright, next up we have Robin. I believe I got a couple wins with Robin this season, actually. She's pretty fun. So, running her on her own artifact for the extra effectiveness and the extra chances to burn, which rounds out her stats quite nicely, about 170 effectiveness there, right, which is pretty decent. Good attack, a little bit of bulk, and a decent amount of speed too. Whenever you take an extra turn, she'll kind of be able to go for a skill 2 into a skill 3 because she gives herself the swift attack buff, which is amazing. Currently have her on speed and hit set, mostly just for stat efficiency, right? She needs effectiveness to land her burns. I wish I could get it a little bit higher, but yeah, she is kind of fun with Rinok. Definitely the unit that I've been using her the most with. Next up is Ruiza. I didn't use her at all last season because, well, she was released near the end, and I didn't want to risk going on a huge losing streak with her. She does seem fun, but I don't think her full potential can be realized just yet. Maybe in an upcoming season we can see her near the beginning of the season wrecking some havoc with a tactical whatever her name is, archetype Coley, that's what it is. Yeah, so maybe, we'll see. She thrives more in aggressive teams, which I don't tend to play very often, so that's just something to keep in mind. In terms of her stats here, just slapping some speed stuff on her. It changes, as I mentioned in her exclusive video that I talked about her. She's a unit that you need to speed tune with your debuffers and the units that are going with her into matches. So yeah, a lot easier to work with in Arena and Guild Wars, a lot more difficult in RTA where your gear is locked in and you can't change things before a match. Alright, next up is Summertime Iseria. Definitely did use her a couple times near the end of the season. I don't think I've shown all the clips of her yet, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future YouTube shorts too that we're going to be posting, highlights from the previous season. But Summertime Iseria works really well with Harsetti under the bomb and burn warfare rule, right? Where they auto detonate bombs, burns, and bleeds at the end of the turn, at the end of any turn. So when your Harsetti goes and your Summertime Iseria lays bombs on everybody using this skill 2 EE, right? You plant bombs on everyone instead of just 2 random units. I also run her on her own artifact here, which allows us to plant extra bombs on her skill 1, but yeah, you plant bombs on everyone after Harsetti's skill 3s or skill 1 and extra attacks with the AoE, and then you nuke everybody with really good damage, but also you stun them, right? And then they essentially just lose their first turn. So definitely a very devastating unit. I have her on the bulkier side. 200 effectiveness is alright. I wish it was higher. I definitely have her on the bulkier side. Some people make her really squishy, have higher attack, but I prefer my control units to stay alive long enough to continue controlling the battlefield. Alright, next up is Veronica. Never really used her. Even with Shepherd of the Dark Diene around, I ended up just banning Diene. You can also see that I don't have my speed imprints on her. I highly recommend you guys get your speed imprints on her. I just haven't gotten around to doing that yet, unfortunately, and it's been over a year or so, year and a half, 2 years, I have no idea. But Veronica here, just rocking some speed gear, that's all you really need. She's really good against Lady of the Scales at times if you have like a Rinok or something to proc Immortality early to get strip the Immortality, right, and get rid of the unit. She's also really good against Shepherd of the Dark Diene, because if she starts the match with Immortality, after your first turn unit goes, whoever it may be, Veronica will jump up in combat readiness, take the turn, dispel the immunity, the Immortality, and then you're good to go. Alright, next up is Festive Eda. I tried using her near the beginning, middle of the season. I feel like she is good. I don't know if I like this slower, super tanky build. It was meant to punish, like, the squishier units and stuff, but then I ended up just not really choosing her. MLK is just better because if your opponent has evasion, like Setsuka is really popular, right? So if your opponent had evasion and you missed the attack that was supposed to proc the extra damage, you don't get the extra damage, so kind of sucks. I do want to maybe build her faster and use her to kind of silence and defense break like really early on, and then try to go from there, right? Playing a little bit more aggressively, but don't know. She's a really good unit, just didn't really get to utilize her because I liked MLK-Ron's playstyle a little more. Fire Politis is up next. This is my Degen Politis I've been using for several seasons now. Haven't really changed her gear, but I'm really liking it. Honestly, I kind of want to give her a +30 Abyssal Crown. Might move that from my Silverblade Armintha. But yes, the Politis is okay. Probably better to use against any non-attack skill opener, but there weren't really many. ML Politis starting to see a bit more play near the end of the season. Politis, if she gets controlled, by the way, so you can't use her against like Swift Flagbearer Sigret, she just won't proc. So Politis kind of weak against units that can control her. I do have her on a bunch of resistance, a little bit of effectiveness, a little bit of bulk, right? She has come in clutch a couple times, so do have to give her props for that. The Abyssal Crown is really good for stunning as well. Okay, next up is Roy Mustang. Let's see what he has here. Never used him this season, just so you know. Never used him, but for those of you guys who are Roy enthusiasts, you want to know how to build him. Currently have him on Lifesteal and Torrent set. Got some pretty good pieces on him, right? But yeah, he in general just suffers from all the fixed damage that's currently running around. You know, just not the greatest unit to be bringing nowadays. Units are too tanky. Defense penetration resistance from Ilynav. He can get sealed by everyone. Genesis Ra, Shepherd the Dark Diene, New Moon Luna, right? So too many weaknesses, unfortunately, at the time for him to thrive. And for the last fire unit we have here is Aram. So Aram is on a counter resist set. We have her on Shamadra Staff. I like the extra healing from her skill 1. It's actually really nice. The effect res increase is also really underrated from that artifact here. But yeah, that means she has like 120 resist, 75 effectiveness. Looking pretty solid here in terms of her stat line. 20 KHP, 1600 defense, 200 speed. I do like a little bit of speed on her. I used to have her on a counter set at 240 speed, but I lowered it because she was going ahead of all the units I want to reset. In fact, I can honestly lower her speed even more, I'd say. Give her some more bulk. Maybe I'll give her like, I don't know, HP boots with like maybe 10-15 speed on it. I think that would be enough because I want my units to go first and then she can come in and reset them afterwards. I think that's more ideal, but for right now she does work, and I do like her healing capabilities quite a bit, so counter set has been the best in slot for me. Right, next up we have Choux. I'm going to showcase my Choux, I guess. I never used her, but for those of you guys who are looking to build her, here you go. Have her on a Snow Crystal artifact, and you have to take this EE where you skill 1 has a chance to proc a skill 2. We're on counter and penetration. I know her crit rate is not maxed, but you can easily remedy that. For example, my boot is absolute dog water here. Can easily mod the attack for crit or just get a better boot, right? But the overall stat line here is something that you can try to aim for. It is pretty typical of a Choux. Alright, next up is, unfortunately, didn't use Amiki this season, but Rem. Rem over here is actually fully built. Never really used her, unfortunately, but hey, I think she actually does have some potential to use with Iseria, so I do want to check that out. But Sigret's Scythe for some healing. We got some counter set. We got immunity set, right? She's more of like an RNG anti-cleave unit. The problem is there's so many units that could just one-shot and just absolutely obliterate Rem. She thrives when someone else dies, right? So she goes into demon mode, immune to debuffs and such. It just isn't reliable because they'll just focus Rem down first, and so that's usually the issue here. But hey, if you're a fan of the anime and you have her, you want to build her, this is a decent build, right? Counter set, immunity set is typically her best in slot. Next up is Brieg. Brieg here is mostly used for PvE. Never really bring him into PvP, although I have a couple times during preseason shenanigans. This is counter and penetration set, just what I use overall in expeditions, hunts, and stuff. So if you're curious as to what I run PvE style, very bare bones things, right? Just weird pieces here just slapped on him. They do work really well, right? It's all HP stuff, defense stuff, and everything. He could benefit from a lot more HP. You want to get like 24, 26, 28k health on him. That'd be kind of nice, right? HP necklace would be good. Maybe HP boot, maybe more HP substats instead of defense like this necklace would be amazing. But yeah, that's my Brieg. Everyone gets one, so just going to showcase him here just in case you want to get him up and running. Next up is Krau. I did try to use him a few times this season, but it never went really well. Bastion of Perlucia is here for the immunity to the back row with a barrier. It comes up sometimes, but in the end I just run protection or immunity set on most units and then a protection set Ilynav to help out with the barriers. I do have him on the S1EE though, 100% chance to provoke. Again, kind of leaning in hard towards that protect the team type of utility style. Okay, next up we have Argent Waves Hua Young. I did use her, well, I think a couple times. I'm not really sure if she did anything in the matches that I did draft her, but we're running Wind Rider on her, and she's on triple set, so Torrent, and Penetration. So 3 2-piece sets here, and her damage is out of this world. I can definitely optimize it a bit more. I do want to get her optimized as well. The main reason is because Argent Waves Hua Young actually works into slow units like Harsetti and stuff. If you pair her with things like Aram, she actually works really well with Bunny Dom, so if you're up against something like Renok and such, they can't actually really do anything against you if they S2 and S3, right? Because you won't die from the damage. Now, of course, the fear is they just skill 3 you, and then you're done anyway, but yeah. There are ways to play around that with the rest of your team comp. Okay, next up we have Seaside Bellona. There were a couple of videos you guys really enjoyed of me using Seaside Bellona here. Thankfully, ML Bellona is going to be coming out with a little bit of a buff in the near future, right, in a few days. So if you guys don't want to miss out on new Bellona content, do be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel as always. Seaside Bellona, though, rocking Rengar's special drink. She's also on the ability to dispel a debuff on herself when she's using her skill 2. Now you might be wondering, well, Asa, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that when you got, oh, oops, I don't need the effectiveness there. Why are you doing that when you already got so much resistance? Well, 157 effect resistance is nice because under the resistance warfare rules, that's over 250 resistance. She is gonna be control free, right? No stuns, no sleeps, none of that shenanigans, no fears, hopefully. And then all you do is you just keep attacking your opponent with Rengar's special drink, proccing that fixed damage. Fixed damage has been really strong lately, so she kind of leans in hard on that. And yeah, double resist set and immunity set helped her achieve these stats quite nicely. Highly recommend trying out Seaside Bellona on the tankier side. You don't need crit or crit damage or anything like that. Just run Rengar's drink. If you are running drink, get at least 4k attack. It's going to help out quite a bit. Alright, next up is Aria. This is an Aria I haven't changed in quite a while. We have Fairy Tale for a Nightmare there as an artifact. Got her on the extra focus EE there, which is pretty decent. Lifesteal, resistance set, right, all that good stuff. 170 speed around. Her HP is a little low, and she can definitely use more crit rate, a little bit more crit rate, but in the end it doesn't really matter. Most of her damage is coming from Fairy Tale for a Nightmare, right? You can see my crit damage is low too, and I got about like 200 effect resistance here. Would like her to have higher effect res, but as of right now I'm not tweaking her build because she's not really too useful at the moment. Wart's running around everywhere because of Iseria too, so definitely keep that in mind as well. Next up is Fern. I've actually been thinking about switching her over to a Warfare set. We'll see. She's currently rocking her own butterfly hair ornament, which is fantastic mitigation in the form of a barrier. It's kind of like Monica the Sword of Syria getting a barrier every time she attacks, right? This is only once per turn though, which kind of sucks. Repose set and penetration set is fantastic here. Allows her to essentially counter anytime she's hit. We got a little bit of bulk to help her stay alive. Really good attack for the barriers here because they scale with her attack stat. And 200 speed because the more focus you have, the more speed you get, right? She can triple her speed stat, which is absolutely insane. Alright, next up we have Diene. Diene here, I used her a few times. She has not been really good this season, just because she's so RNG, and I tried to use her against units like Genesis Roz, for example, but it just doesn't ever really work out. People end up just getting rid of the Diene, then Genesis Roz comes in, skill 2, skill 3, or what they'll do is bait Diene's cleanse, and then just come in and skill 3 with the ML Luna, and then boom, you're done, you're sealed, it's over. So Diene is getting a rework though, so she will probably be a lot better with the balance adjustment coming out in a couple of days. Okay, next up we have Fenne. Fenne is also a unit that's very accessible to new players, I believe. So she is a very good PvE unit. I have her on Destruction and Crit set, just to optimize for some stats a little bit here. I have her on Proof of Love, which does give her extra crit rate, brings her to 100%, and inflicts injuries. Now, this is a PvP build. I can easily bring her into PvP and use her here. She just doesn't do really well. I would say I should have used her more during during the injury matches, the one where you deal more damage based on the more injuries your opponent has. I think she actually kind of would have thrived in a PvP environment like that. Yeah, maybe if I paired her with Monica the Sword of Syria, it could be really cool, like sustain with the skill 1 for healing, but at the same time like racking up injuries on the opponent. Could be really cool. I definitely want to test that. Speaking of injuries, Alencia, one of the best injury appliers in the entire game. We're running on Prayer of Solitude, increases her HP, does extra damage when she does extra attacks and stuff, and she also recovers health whenever she uses her skill 1. Now she's on injury set and HP set. She does have injury built into her kit, but you know, why not? Why not have more injury set? If she skill 1s and then does the extra attack into an opponent's unit, pretty much with the injury in her kit and the injury that's on the set here, she brings them down to 50% injury. All their HP is gone, and she's not bad for that, but she's a little slow, vulnerable to debuffs, vulnerable to control. Didn't really get to use her all season, unfortunately, because she is quite fun. Right, moving on, we got Arunka. This is a PvE Arunka for my Rift runs. So she's actually running a Little Queen's Huge Crown for some more damage against barriers, and 30% combat readiness gain from the skill 3 to help you turn cycle a little bit faster. Speed set, penetration set, all that good stuff for damage. Run as much attack as possible on her. I think we were over 7k attack, but had to swap out a couple pieces on some other units, and so we pulled from Arunka because she's not PvP focused. Unfortunately, I really would like her to be. They should just make her be able to one-shot anyone with a barrier. That'd be great. Okay, next up is Hakadi. Alright, Hakadi is a unit that has come and gone, like in my drafts. I think after she was released, I was using her a lot more, and then as she settled in, I used her less and less. Running Tome of Life's End here for some extra damage stuff, and we're running Warfare set with immunity, because why not be able to skill 3 at the start of the match? 206 speed is alright. We did get a lot of bulk on her, which I'm very happy about. And her damage, it is a little lacking at times. It's enough to one-shot like a Genesis Ross that's been weakened a little, which is the main concern. But yeah, definitely get around 4k attack if it's possible for you. Okay, next up we have the Immortal Wukong. So this Wukong is actually a PvP Wukong. It looks weird. Straze has kind of fallen off a little bit in terms of a cleave unit, but he was an anti-Straze unit. I had him on the extra crit resist and the penetration resist here, and then I also had him on the crit chance and critical hit resist here. So he has really high crit resist, and the fact that he can't be defense penetrated as much because it's built into his passive as well. You can see crit resist and penetration resist by 60%. This guy was actually kind of nice. Straze was skill 3, you tank the hit with him because he has the highest HP unit on your team. He has a little bit of damage in case he does take a turn. And yeah, that's essentially all he did. That's all he needed to do. It only happened a couple times, I'd say, more so near the beginning of the season, because I did not see Straze cleaves, like, ever in the last couple of months. Alright, moving on though, we have Lia. Lia should be on a Sweet Miracle here, so if we throw that onto her, you'll see a better stat line for her here. So we currently have speed set and HP set on her. She kind of fallen off, honestly, from where she used to be, mostly because, even though she got an EE and everything, mostly because Empyrean Ilynav exists, and you really just can't do damage with her, which is really sad. So, unfortunately, Lia was never picked. Next up, we have Charles. I've been using Charles for fun from time to time. You guys know, one of my favorite characters in the entire game. Running Elber's Ritual Sword here for the extra chances to counter. We got him dispelling all debuffs from himself with his skill 3. And of course, we're rocking some of the highest quality gear I have in the form of some destruction and resist pieces. So super fun unit to be using here. And yeah, definitely want to see more applications for him. Maybe again I can use him with like Monica the Sword of Syria or something in the future, and that would be a fun little thing to do in RTA. Now, what ruins all that fun is, well, the Great Mortelix. Mort here is a pretty beefy guy. He has Holy Sacrifice here at plus 30, and we have on the EE that extends the buff of the speed duration, the speed buff. It is kind of nice to have. The more buffs, the better, obviously, as a team support unit with this as well. So we do have him on Destruction and HP set. And his whole job is to get picked when Monarch Sword Iseria gets picked. He gets banned quite a bit, but if he does make it through, he usually wins. Next up we have Cermia. I know, an unexpected one. I do use her in PvP right now with Rift, but if you put her on Ancient Dragon's Legacy, you can actually use her as a unit that kind of counters like Record and Moana. I don't really see people picking her very often though now, so yeah, most people are probably picking up some sort of damage dealers, right? Or if they are going for cleave and such, right? If they are going for control and such as debuffs and things that don't like reset your skill cooldowns and stuff. So yeah, definitely something to look out for there. She was a nice tech for a little bit, but never really got to use her optimally. Next up we have Yolha, very bulky tank here. Got her on another plus 30 Holy Sacrifice, and she is on the resetting skill cooldown when using the skill 3. It is nice to spam it, but she does have her problems, right, with injury being rampant this season, especially on ML Choux. ML Choux's been so popular lately, and so yeah, definitely an okay unit, but more useful in like maybe arenas and guild wars. I do like her build though. Her build is super nice with the counter and the HP, as you can see on the stats on the right side. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's so many better knights to use than her in my opinion, which is why I ended up not really paying too much attention to her. Blooming Lidica is up next. Never really used her. Didn't use her at all. Just come out and say it. Blooming Lidica kind of did not see the opportunity to get used. I have her on her own EE, which is kind of nice for the effectiveness, right? Pushing back combat readiness effects. This actually synergizes well with Harseti, just so you know. Harseti can skill 3 and stuff. You can't increase combat readiness effects when Harseti's there, but you can decrease them. So Blooming Lidica can push people back, maybe allow you to take a turn, sneak in there. Getting Restrict is also super important because it prevents your opponents from pushing up. When you use your skill 2, right, it's an AoE, and then it can push up things like Empyrean Ilynav and such, and then they can just cleanse your debuffs, which is really bad because you scale your damage off of the amount of debuffs your opponent has. Next up we have Celine. Celine, I like to build tanky, so mine is a destruction penetration build here. We do have her on Secret Art Storm Sword, which is nice for the attack boost, and I currently have her on attacking the highest attack unit instead of the one that randomly attacks and like has a chance to stun. This is really just to throw people off. Sometimes if they pick a single DPS, I'll bring Celine. If they have like other support units with non-attack skills, then that one, you know, one Celine skill 2 ends up winning the entire game if they're not paying attention. Alright, next up we have Rinok. So Rinok here is on 305 speed. I think she's my fastest unit in my roster right now. And she's rocking about 3,000 attack, almost 1,500 HP, or 15,000 HP. And I am running 100 effectiveness on her. Now, it might seem like a waste because the only thing she can do is push back with her skill 2. That's the only, like, quote-unquote debuff or negative effect she has. And that's really all you need. The fact that she can push back a unit without soul burning is actually amazing. I actually did this because of the warfare rules, so that it cancels out the 100 effect res that your opponent gains. So if your opponent has, let's say, for example, a Lionheart Cermia, someone who's never built with resistance nowadays, yeah, you can easily Rinok that, push her back, right, and then continue popping off as if nothing happened. So it is really good. Okay, moving on, we got Earthlandy. Guys, one of the newest additions to my roster here. She has been so much fun. I only did it because I managed to max out Wall of Order, which gives you the higher chance for a greater attack buff, but most importantly, 100% chance to grant stealth for a turn after your turn. She does have her EE as well, which is kind of good, and these are her current stats: speed and torrent set for as much damage as possible for those AoEs. She hits like a truck, she ramps up as well, ramps up relatively quickly too, punishes these like LRK teams, like Maid Chloe teams with all the heavy buffing and such, right? Super good. I do have it so that when she does have full fighting spirit, it dispels all debuffs from the caster. That way you can't get stunned, slept, controlled, all that good stuff. Alright, next up we have Saria. Saria is a pretty decent unit with Destruction and Torrent on her right now. Maybe I'll look into like triple set, not really sure right now, but Awakened Leaf is pretty decent as well. Anytime we use a non-attack skill, right, increases combat readiness of the caster and the ally in the back row by almost 20%. So she gets to push up whoever's in the back, let them take a turn. She ends up being a pretty good bridge. She does push herself up if you take an extra turn, so Rin Aqua is usually the way to go here. You can also use it with things like Immortal Taeyou and stuff too, or other openers, right, Conqueror Lilias and all that good stuff. They were pretty popular throughout the season. Next up we have Frieren. Frieren is a juggernaut, a powerhouse. I don't know how other people build theirs, but mine, just look at those stats, guys, it's crazy. We have her on her own artifact, which allows us to generate more souls, but most importantly, we have her on a speed and immunity set. Immunity is so important on her, guys. Do not underestimate the power of immunity. I know Torrent is really good on her for more damage, but guys, immunity set is ridiculous. It lets Frieren not get controlled by anything, right? No seals from random stuff, right? It's great. You can also replenish immunity by going for your skill 1, so it's also really nice to be able to just keep up 100% immunity, not let your opponent seal you with Genesis Raws and things. Yeah, she was just a very dangerous unit overall. Moving on, we got Rowana. This is my PvE Rowana. I use her in all sorts of PvE content, expeditions, hunts, right? In the Hall of Trials, for example. And so she is mostly here as support for counter stuff, and Arena too. Oh my gosh, I use her so much in Arena. If you guys want to see a dedicated Arena video, do let me know. But yeah, Rowana here basically trivializes Setsuka and any other unit that would proc counters and such, or extra attacks. I use her against Frieren defenses all the time in Arena as well. But yeah, Rowana, pretty solid. Pretty solid. These are stat lines here. I don't know if I just showed them. I probably showed them earlier. But yeah, pretty bulky too. This is my Schneel, currently not used in PvP, currently used in PvE. Got him a Wireless Origin, and he's really just helping me farm Banshee right now. He's also used in Rift, so if you need an idea of what to run on him there, this is currently what I have. He could definitely be faster too if I gave him an actual boot and not this, right? He can have more speed, for sure. Next up is Sharoon, normal Sharoon. She's been buffed a couple times, never really did anything with those buffs. Wondrous Potion Vial is kind of nice for some cleansing because she doesn't have that in her kit. And then she could decrease the defense of her skill 3 by a turn, which is great. Allows her to Venom spam and kind of control the opponent a little bit more, which is decent as well. Venom, I just feel like needs a little bit of work. It does too little injury for what it is. But yeah, I currently have her on a counter and hit set, by the way, 230 speed, decent bulk, a little bit of effectiveness. I think I could do better in terms of gear, but for right now, if she works, she works. Never really used her in the season of RTA though, although could consider that for going against maid teams or other buff-heavy teams too. Next up is Young Senya. So Young Senya is used against Harseti teams and such. I have been using her here and there, not to degree of success that I was hoping for, but hey, it's alright. So we got her on Proof of Friendship, which is great for extra HP on herself and the foremost ally, also for the combat readiness gains too. Super good into Harseti. Pretty much the only reason I have her up and running still is because of those certain matchups. Aram with Young Senya and another Earth unit is typically a very safe draft. Right, but yeah, these are stats I have on the right side. You can see not the best stats, not the greatest things. You don't need great pieces on Soul Weavers like this because they just kind of need to stay alive and not get debuffed, kind of do their jobs a little, right? And there's really not that much else that they need. Next up is Lionheart, finally, onto the light units here. Lionheart Cermia with 2,000 defense, tried to get her bulk as high as possible, a little bit of speed, a little bit of crit damage here too. We have our Durandal, which is really nice for turn cycling here, especially when she gets low on health, 16% every time she's hit. If she's hit by an extra attack, that's 32% combat readiness, then she boosts up her passive, that's 50% combat readiness. Guys, she's lapping you guys, and you're about to eat another skill 3 to the face. Okay, but currently have her on her EE, which is wonderful, and Lifesteal and Torrent set. I do prefer Lifesteal on her. I feel like it's super fun to be able to top yourself up all the time. I know some people run her on, what is that called? There's another artifact. Golden Rose, I think. Golden Rose lets you heal, right, when you're low, below 50% health, but then people run Destruction for more damage. So they're doing more damage, but then a little less survivability. I prefer more survivability, so I went for the Lifesteal set. Alright, Little Queen Charlotte's up next. She is pretty solid against dark units. The problem is Bystander Huayang also just kind of one-shots her. So it is kind of a DPS race. Can you get Little Queen Charlotte to go before the Bystander Huayang? Or is Bystander Huayang going to extinct your Little Queen Charlotte because she's a little too slow and a little too squishy? Who knows? But this is my current build on her right now. She's on Benimaru's Tachi for the guaranteed attack buff at the start of the turn, and she also has immunity as well from the Benimaru's Tachi, so it's huge. You don't have to run immunity on her, and you can run penetration, which increases her damage dealt. Alright, moving on here, we have Successor Taeyou, a unit that I really wanted this year, and I finally got him through headhunts. This is my build for him. I like him like this. It's really funny. Now I want a second one to go full cleave with. But he's on Sigrid's Scythe for some healing, and he does have the EE as well to make sure he 100% chance defense breaks. And these are his stats. He's on Destruction and Resistance. He's pretty solid. His damage could be a bit higher, but it's not that bad for what it is. He can still one-shot. Like, if Zio, like, skill 3s into Boss Ruka, he can still one-shot the Boss Ruka with her remaining health, which is not a bad achievement at all. His damage is already so high. Decided to troll a little bit, go for some resistance builds, and it has helped me squeak out a couple victories this season. Okay, next up is Bellion. Now, Bellion, I think, is one of the biggest MVPs of the entire season. I did re-gear her a little bit, so she went from like 28,000 HP up to 30,000 HP, 1,400 defense, which was pretty good, 200 resistance is the key to her success, guys. 200 resistance is the reason why I'm able to stay alive and just not get debuffed, not get controlled. If you have the resistance rules active, then what happens is you have 300 resist, and even your opponent's like highest effectiveness units, right, sitting around maybe 200, 250 effectiveness, they won't be able to debuff you reliably. So that's huge. We have 3F on her for the extra damage that's inflicted. Scales with her HP. You guys know that rate up banner's on right now. Not the 3F, but the Epic 7 equivalent. That's not part of the collab. So, hey, good luck to you guys if you are rolling on that one. Next up is Bossarunka. So Bossarunka here has counter and immunity. I did switch her build a few weeks ago, so I was getting tired of her being a little too squishy in terms of HP. I used to have like 3,400 defense, which is wild, but dropped it down to 2,800, gave her a bit more health for survivability to tank like fixed damage and all the chip damage that she'll take all throughout the matches, and it's been working quite nicely. We managed to essentially drop the defense, increase the HP by about 6k. I think she was on like, oh no, she was about like 20k health, I think, before. So we did manage to increase about 4 to 5k. And the trade-off is we did get a little bit more effect resistance, but we also got her on immunity, which is amazing value here, because if she stays immune at the start of the battle, you can't get stunned, you can't get controlled, you can't get all that stuff. So yeah, it's been really nice for her, especially defense breaks and stuff. If the opponent can't defense break her, it is going to be very hard to get rid of her from the field. Alright, next up is Dragon Bride Senya. This is not really ideal, because I haven't used her in quite a while. She just has random pieces, as you can see on her. But the pieces I chose on her were ones that have a lot of HP and a lot of flat health. 505 on the necklace, 1,130 there, 485 there. So the more HP you have, the better on her. She is really good at spamming her skill 3. I just never really got around to testing it out myself. And again, Dragon Bride Senya automatically loses to Empyrean Ilynav, so do understand where that's coming from. Okay, but yeah, Dragon Bride Senya is pretty decent in protect the, solo unit in circumstances. She just gets focused down first in most cases. Alright, Empyrean Ilynav, guys, I'd say, honestly, the dark horse of the meta. Not that she's bad, or that she's like some rogue strategy or something. No, I call it the dark horse because everyone points their finger at every other unit being the problem, but Empyrean Ilynav, honestly, just by herself, mitigates so much damage because she nullifies, defense penetration. Yeah, such a good unit, And currently have her on Rise of a Monarch, and these are her stats here with her protection set and immunity. Again, just keeping off the debuffs until she can take a turn. She gains combat readiness every time you get hit as well, so she turn cycles quite a bit, quite often. Okay, next up is Genesis Roz. So yeah, in combat he has about 30k health here because of a Precious Connection, and he is able to get souls and just kind of nuke the opponent. I hate using him because, oh my gosh, he's such a pain. Currently have him on Destruction and HP set. Used him a lot this season though, because if I didn't take him, my opponents would, and I definitely can't afford to have my opponents have him, especially if they take Empyrean Ilynav, especially if they take Nurse Yoha. Next up is Last Rider Krau. So this guy has been kind of unchanged for a little bit. I wish I got more Crowns of Glory because that would be amazing on him. He essentially is now an anti-Freerin pick. So anyone that wants to pick Freerin or is using some sort of strategy that involves AoEs, Last Rider Krau is super good for that, with Crown of Glory mitigating that damage, his barrier helping to soak up Vex damage as well. Very nice. Next up is Monarch of the Sword of Iseria. Man, these light knights just never end, huh? The Monarch of the Sword of Iseria here is fairly strong, right? 4,000 attack. We got her pretty bulky with 9k HP, semi-resilient with 200 effect resistance. I'd say, all in all, a very, very good build. She survives long enough. She comes in clutch sometimes in RTA. We have her on counter and immunity. She doubles all chances to counter, so you'll be losing out if you didn't put her on counter set, and max out the Elbrus Ritual Sword too. Next up we have Navy Captain Landy. I did use her a couple times. I think pretty decent outcomes too. So against cleave and things where they have really squishy units, Navy Captain Landy, if you build her bulky like this, 20k health, really hard for them to get over her, but also the built-in anti-crit's kind of nice for adding some RNG, and her ability to counter makes her quite a deadly force nowadays. Again, Elbrus Ritual Sword for the countering chance. Alright, next up we have Last Piece Corinne, 303 speed, not one of my fastest, but definitely up there. We have Symbol of Unity for the extra hit chance, and the extra damage dealt, because I think it would be useful. We have 4 speed pieces, 2 crit pieces, right? There we go. And I had to go for the crit because otherwise I wouldn't have enough stats to reach 100% chance. Luckily though, these both have pretty decent crit rolls here and pretty good optimum speed, right? 22 speed here to help her out. Can definitely increase speed in like the ring, for example, but that wouldn't help a whole ton. It might help me with a little bit of speed contesting, but it won't help a whole ton in terms of just gains. Alright, next up is Specimen Sez. Haven't used him in quite a while. These are his stats unchanged. He's currently with his EE, giving him more HP, and Moonlight Dreamblade for the additional chance to get an attack buff. If he gets an attack buff and someone's stunned or slept, he pretty much just ends them extremely quickly, so keep that in mind. Specimen Sez though, pretty cool. I just want to see more like stun and sleep units kind of make their way into the meta. Would be very, very nice. Maybe the bomb detonation thing right at the end of the turn. Maybe if they release a new bomb unit that like is very consistent, very solid, but otherwise, yeah. Okay, next up is Spirit Eye Celine. This is one of my favorite builds, 267 speed. We have 3,500 attack, 255 crit damage. We have her on Lifesteal and Penetration set. Some are photogenic for the defense, ignore defense sharing and such, so you can use her into Lady of the Scales. Also have her on the EE, which gives 10 crit rate, which is solid. But yeah, there you guys have it. That's Spirit Eye Celine, a Lifesteal set, by the way. Achieving these speeds has always been delightful for me. Next up is Twisted Eidolon Chiron. This guy is bulky, very bulky. Pretty much run him with 0 speed, a ton of bulk, and you don't need attack or anything like that, just 200 plus resistance. I have him on 207 plus 70, 277 resistance, almost 280, guys. And when it goes down to its lowest point, he still only has 240 resistance. It's wild. He does team imprint because crit rate on him is worthless, so that is why that's there. He is on, oh, by the way, he is on protection and the new set here. Forgot the name of the set right now, but yeah, super strong. Oh, pursuit set, super strong pursuit set, lets you deal 20% more fixed damage on his skill 3, which means even if you pop your damage prematurely, it's a lot of damage getting added up. So Kairon definitely deserves a shout out here. Okay, so moving on, we got Wanderer Silk. This uses a speed imprint. I've been using her a little bit in the current preseason, actually, but again, you guys know me, I'm not a huge speed player, but 286 speed on her. She is used because she's a 14 speed imprint here, which is really nice. Guiding Light, prevent her from being hit. She's pretty fast herself, good utility. Speed EE helps a lot for me, who doesn't have a lot of speed gear to go around. I have some pretty fast pieces, but it's not really easy to share them, right? But I currently have her on the one that dispels a buff when using Shock Arrow, so you get to silence them, which is pretty good. Yeah, this is the current speed I'm running on her. Very mediocre speed, right? I have a 21 piece in here, but most of them are 17, 17, 17, 19, and your normal speed boot. So fairly achievable, especially with the speed EE. Next up, speaking of speed imprints, Watcher Shuri, he's missing a piece of gear here, unfortunately, but Watcher Shuri is typically built here for the speed imprint as well, but currently took off his piece, sadly. Alright, next up, for someone that's used now, New Moon Luna, I used her quite a bit in the last season. We got Tagahel's Ancient Book for the soul burns and stuff, got the speed immunity on her, 291 speed. I know, not the fastest, because we have a 14 speed necklace, right, and a 17 speed necklace, 14 speed ring. Can definitely use improvements there. The immunity is definitely needed, so I wouldn't sacrifice more speed to give up. I wouldn't sacrifice immunity to get more speed. She needs it for her skill effect nullifier, otherwise her skill effect nullifier doesn't really work, so you definitely want that to be on her. More effectiveness would also be nice, but again, you always soul burn her, and you won't be able to stack up enough effectiveness for it to matter in those matches where we're up against Bellions and stuff anyway, in most cases, so I don't know if it's worth it. Maybe I'll drop down some HP and bulk and stuff, either for speed or for effectiveness. We'll see. Next up is Sage Ball. Unfortunately, Sage Ball just isn't good. Anti-cleave is so difficult. Ron just dumpsters on things like Sage Ball, right? You can't cut, you just... Shep of the Dark Diene also screws him over too. It's just a rough world out there for anti-cleave. So if the meta does favor more aggressive playstyles, I'm probably going to end up struggling. Tagahel's Ancient Book for the soul burn on him. Speed and HP set as well. I know I am running a bit of effect resistance on him, but it's mostly for the effect res warfare rules. I know he can't put people to sleep under those rules, but he does have enough fixed damage, or it's not fixed damage, but ignore defense, right? And you kind of do a fixed set of damage, kind of like how Krau does damage based on his lost HP. He does it based on his max HP, so he's pretty solid. Not really doing a whole lot though, I will say. So he definitely needs a bit of help. Maybe an EE to help soften the blow, because Empyrean Ilynav also shuts him down. Next up is Silverblade Araminta. I just talked about her earlier with the Abyssal Crown on Politis and such. Abyssal Crown really good on Silverblade Araminta. So I have her on the plus 31, just more chances to stun. We have her on speed and immunity. 250 speed's okay. I'm honestly thinking of just lowering her stats in general, increasing her effectiveness and speed, and just making her this just glass cannon juggernaut. Would need better, better gear definitely on the left side here to get more speed so she can cut. Definitely need a better ring as well. So I need to invest some more gear into her so that she can pay off a bit better. Next up is Solitaria. Never really used her this season, but almost 200 effect resistance. She's a bit slow, 240 speed, and a little bit of bulk to boot, which is nice. But yeah, definitely focused on the effect res here. It's a kind of outdated build, as when Afternoon Soak Flan was really meta, and there's a lot of control openers and such, trying to strip her stealth. This is a great way to stay in stealth, stay healthy against the Afternoon Soak Flan, but as of right now, not used whatsoever. ML Politis, though, on the other hand, kind of does her job, but being slightly more versatile. Next up is Sylvan Sage Vivian. So, yeah, I did use her a few times, actually, to pretty good success. She is a really cheeky unit, right? With Chatty here keeping her alive with some extra barriers. I have her on Lifesteal and Torrent set. She does get the job done in terms of staying away from debuffs. if you want a debuff-free team, Sylvan Sage Vivian, Bystander Huayan, Genesis Raz are basically your 3 go-tos. Sylvan Sage being the least used out of the 3, but when she does work, she works really well. Just watch out because Bystander Huayan ignores damage reduction and can one-shot her. Witch of the Mirror Tenebria. There we go, guys. This is the unit that's been eluding me since her banner. A lot of you guys wondered, where the heck did you get this as a... Well, it's mostly because a free summoning event that happened like a couple weeks ago. Managed to snag her there. Got super lucky. Built her up with speed and immunity set. And rocking 200 effectiveness. She never lands debuffs with this. It's terrible. And 240 speed. So wanted more effectiveness on her. Have her pretty bulky, I'd say. Would like a little bit more HP, a little less defense maybe, but the speed I feel like is okay. Maybe I'll switch her artifact over to Fumir's artifact that gains combat readiness, but again, I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking for at the moment. Next up is DJB. Did use him a couple times. 285 speed is really nice. 200 effect resistance. We got Soul Constellation as well with extra effect res in here. Gains combat readiness when they use a non-attack skill. This is a great way for me to play into like Emma Politis and all these other types of units that are good openers. DJB also, you know, if your opponent has a barrier, you can skill 2, take an extra turn, skill 3 that can proc some of those units like Saria and Argent Waves Huayoung. So he is kind of like an anti-cleave sort of unit in certain team comps, right? And his CR push-up for the combat readiness is insane, right? Allowing you to take the turn and putting immunity on everybody as well. So he's actually really useful. I just haven't really been using him because not many people I play against have consistent barriers that are on them, right? In the form of like, let's say FCC or protection set units. Next up is Dragon King Sharoon. People keep saying to use her against Swift Flagbearer Sigret. She's okay in certain circumstances, but in more cases than not, people just skill 2 your Dragon King Sharoon. Sigret attacks you, everyone attacks you, Sharoon goes down, Sigret comes in, skill 3s, and you still get controlled. So, kind of sucks. I'm currently running Sacred Tree Branch. The great thing about this build is I'm running counter and hit set at 233 speed, 175 effectiveness with Sacred Tree Branch. That's almost 200 effectiveness, guys. You want to know how many units she stuns? Did I hear 0? That's right, 0. Never stuns units ever, but the CR push from the Sacred Tree Branch is kind of nice though. Helps her and the highest attack unit turn cycle. Okay, next up we have Infinite Horizon Acades, my highest resist unit on my account here, 300 effect res. We have Guardian Ice Crystals giving 15% more. She's almost sitting at 320 effect res. She does grant stealth using the skill 2. We have her on speed and resist set, and I'm actually quite happy with her. The only thing I would need to do moving forward is bump down the resistance, bump up her speed a ton, and I'll probably be using her with the artifact that gives souls, so I can like skill 2 and then give like 10 souls to a unit so that you can like Bystander Huayoung, like just soul burn, kick Boss Arunka and stuff like that immediately. Those types of things I want to do more with her, because finding those teams that are like super debuff heavy against you is really rare, and yeah, in most cases, Infinite Horizon Acades doesn't even work against units like Witch of the Mirror Tenebria who have block in them, right? Basically not allowing you to cleanse your teammates. Next up is Lady of the Scales. You guys know her. She's degenerate, terrible unit to fight against. When she has self-imprint, 200 resistance, a little bit of bulk, 270 speed. Soul Constellation, used her quite a bit this season, 230 resist with her own Soul Constellation. I tend to imprint the team because 200 is usually enough for her. Most of the time I use her, she's tanking for herself, but one thing to note is that I am running Pursuit Set here. Pursuit Set actually helps her buff, the Abundance buff she gives to everyone on her team. That Abundance buff is affected by Pursuit, so instead of doing 2,000 fixed damage, you're doing a bunch extra, 2,400 I think, it says 20% more, right? So yeah, it's a pretty noticeable boost in terms of her damage output for the team. So highly recommend Pursuit Set, is basically one of the best in slots for her. Alright, next up is Maid Chloe, a unit that I used a decent amount, tried to use a decent amount. Her win rate isn't fantastic, but speed and HP set here. We also have Water's Origin. Don't know if there's a better artifact to be using on her, honestly. But yeah, currently rocking decent stats. 160 effect res seems a little low, but with the effect res rules, it's okay. Maybe I'll run something that gives a little bit of effect res as well in the future. Who knows? Maybe the artifact that they changed from her passive, right? They changed her old passive, made it an artifact, so maybe that one. Alright, we also have Moon Bunny. Moon Bunny is honestly used more in Arena and Guild Wars and such against Rinnoc. We got Doctor's Bag here and such. I don't use her too much in RTA. She is useful against, if your opponent has like multiple extra turn units, like Rinnoc and Genesis Raw, she becomes better value. But in most cases, they're just gonna Rinnoc skill 3, kill your Bunny Dom, and then go for skill 2, skill 3. So she's more of a counter to those types of units in a more controlled environment rather than RTA. Next up is Ruel of Light. Yeah, disgusting unit, right? So, Prophetic Candlestick, obviously for the cooldown reductions, and her EE, which makes her absolutely busted as a unit. Currently running her on the Reversal set, which gives you 50% combat readiness when you die. Couple that with her passive, not her passive, but the buff she starts with at the start of the match, like Spirit Lord's Blessing or whatever it is. You gain 100% total, 50 from her buff, 50 from the set, and when you die, you'll take the turn, you get to skill 3, put up invisibility on herself and whoever you decide to revive. Usually a pretty good combination. She stalls out games like crazy, guys. It's insane. Even if you're losing, you can just be losing for like 10 minutes and just not actually die. Yeah, she's nuts. So 180 effect resistance with all this bulk at 190 speed on this set here. It's pretty bonkers. Okay, but yeah, Ruel definitely was used. Definitely a really good contribution to the teams. Next is Apoc Ravi. When she got buffed, I was hoping to use her a lot more than I currently am, unfortunately. Currently rocking Sweet Miracle, though. Really liking that. And her EE here, allowing you to increase damage down on the skill 3 and inflict 30% of injuries on target, is also really nice. Stack up injuries really quick on these units, prevents them from healing up. A lot of units like to heal up and such and top themselves off, so it's hard for you to actually finish them in one go. So the injury prevents them from healing, and then you can, hopefully when you get the War God buff with her skill 3, then you can just one-shot the rest of their remaining HP. But currently rocking some decent pieces on her. Look at that helmet, guys. Looks beautiful. Yeah, having a good time using her. Did recently use her as well in RTA, so if you haven't checked out the recent RTA videos, do be sure to go click over after finishing this one. Right, next up is Assassin Cartusia. He is used in Arena for some dodging shenanigans with Setsuka, but currently have him on his EE for extra evasion for everyone and Snow Crystal, because when you evade on a miss, it counts as a non-crit, so you do get the combat readiness boost. This is a set right here, protection set, immunity. Protection set's pretty good because he has some decent HP, not a whole ton, but enough to give everyone a decent barrier at the start of the match, and it helps against, well, it helps because they're evasion units, right? And so any little bit of mitigation is very, very beneficial. Next up is Bison Huayang. You guys know her by now. I need to switch up the build. I need to give her a lot more HP because she is just way too squishy. I need this damage, but I need way more HP. I have room to grow with some pieces here, right? There's a lot of 88s, for example, and then the helmet itself is also purple, but she did way worse this season than she did last season, which is just very unfortunate. Okay, moving on, guys, we have Dark Corvus, who I actually managed to bring into a couple of fights, surprisingly. He is on the Warfare set, right? So he starts without cooldowns here, and Thorn of the Blue Rose, so he can soul burn immediately at the start of the match and just S3 somebody, and it's amazing. Yeah, 33k HP Dark Corvus on 170 something speed coming after you with 100 resist, a little bit to boot, right? You don't want to get controlled after all. This guy's an absolute monster, a juggernaut. Yeah, as long as there's no Empyrean Ilynav on the other side, he basically ensures that one of your opponent's units is dead, and if you protect him well enough with like immunity and other things, buffers on your team, this guy's an absolute just menace, yeah. Okay, moving on, we got Designer Lilibet. Surprisingly, I didn't really get to use her all that much. I guess I could have used her more against like Swift Flagbearer Sigret. I gotta remember she exists. She kind of needs a little bit of help. Honestly, like an EE would work wonders on her. Destruction and immunity though, a lot of damage on her here, which I do like. And decent amount of HP. 17k HP is pretty good for the stats that we currently have. Golden Rose for some more damage, for some more healing overall. So yeah, would be nice for me to remember that she exists so I can pick her more. Next up is Disciplinary Prefect Aria, also on Thorn of the Blue Rose for some extra damage when soul burning, also decreases her cooldown so she can use it more. She's been really good as a Bellion substitute, right? She's like Timu Bellion. The opponents need to double their soul burn costs against her, so if you're up against someone who just picked a single mage, she's basically just a Bellion against them. If they do have double mages on book, then they can only soul burn once instead of twice. It's okay in most cases. If you run her with Bellion, even better, right? Because Bellion is... Bellion's knocking down your opponent's souls, and then Aria, she's just really strong bruiser. People superhumanize her with Nurse and everything, and she hits like an absolute truck too. Okay, next up we have Lone Crescent Bellona. This is the build that I currently have on her. I haven't used her this season because why would you? There's no point in using her. But after a buff, she'll be kind of nice. I don't know if I'm going for a 0-speed tank build again, like I used to have, or if I'm going a bit faster. But currently I have her on Sigurd Scythe. You can see the boots aren't even reforged here. They're not awful boots, but they're not reforged, right? But yeah, this is currently what I have on her right now. If I modify the crit rate to defense there, and then maybe reforge it, this would be honestly like a pretty decent build, not gonna lie. So, yeah, we'll see what do we decide to go for it, whether we go back to a counter build or we stick to destruction and be more damage focused. Next up is Lone Wolf Peyra. I also been using her a little bit and had Sweet Miracle on her at one point to cleanse some debuffs and stuff, but not really great as an opener. Really, you don't see many people using her much at all right now. She is decent for extra turns and stuff. Swift attack buff, super good in helping synergize with certain other units. But yeah, right now, most people are running her with like fixed damage and attack and such. But I currently have her on a more supportive role. Luckily, never had to whip her out or anything to use. But yeah, maybe I'll switch around some gears in this preseason, test some compositions out, see if we can get some cheeky wins here and there. Next up is Mediator Elric. This guy has been used quite a bit this season. Not a whole ton, but here and there he has been a good cleanser. Warhorn for some extra damage to the team. He has the ability to penetrate the target's defense, but you can't crit, so I went to this non-crit 270 speed Elric build. Such a fast cleanser is always unexpected, right? Especially with Warhorn. So if my opponent does outspeed me, has a couple units to take extra turns and stuff, Elric can come in, jump up, and just cleanse everyone. Unfortunately, again, not used all that much because when I do get controlled fully, it's usually against Witch of the Mere Tenebria, who Elric can't cleanse anyway. Right, next up we have Straze. He's on kind of a budget build here because I don't have another Benimaru's Tachi that's on Little Queen Charlotte. He does have his own EE though, and he is on speed and torrent set. Still usable, still decent. 250 something speed is okay. Ahmed can push him up and take the turn, right? But yeah, I'm just not that aggressive of a player. But also he has been falling off a little bit in terms of people using him in cleave teams. One unit I do want to re-gear though is Urban Shadow Shu. This unit I've been trying to draft a couple times near the last few weeks of the season. Just didn't pan out really nicely. Proof of Valor is okay if you're playing this tankier build, but I kind of want to do a more damage-oriented build. You can see my crit damage is low. Mostly just because this Shu is meant to lap around your opponents and just do a bunch of injury them down and all that good stuff. I don't think this build is as good anymore. I know there used to be a resist build. I think just going for an average like 260, 270 speed build with a ton of damage is the way to go. Make her bulky, maybe keep Proof of Valor to keep her alive. But yeah, the stealth from her EE is what makes her absolutely incredible. So probably going to be switching her up to see if that helps. Next up we have Abyssal Euphine. Didn't really get to use her, but did fight a couple of her. Yeah, she is interesting because I really like her design and such, but I just can't really make her work right now in the meta. She is banned a couple times because my opponents were trying to cleave and such, so combat readiness pushes are really good, but yeah, I currently have her on the lifesteal build. I know a tank build was good for a while too. Seems people have shifted away from that. More emphasis on the Veronica Empyrean Ilynav side of things, and less so on Abyssal Euphine, sadly. Speaking of knights that kind of fallen out of favor, Fallen Cecilia used to be a staple in one of my drafts, but yeah, lately she's not been as good, because if I'm drafting Veronica or Empyrean Ilynav first, picking Maid Chloe is just better overall than picking Fallen Cecilia. You'd have too many knights and not enough, like, cleansing and healing and such that the maid offers, right? Revive buffs, defense buffs. So Fallen Cecilia can be okay. Maybe if you pair her with like Ruel and such, right? Another type of unit, because her effects of mitigating fixed damage overlap with Maid Chloe's. So it's good to kind of put variety into your drafts, right? Instead of picking 2 low damage knights, pick 1 knight, 1 soul weaver, and then pick some DPSs that can benefit from both of those being there. But yeah, Fallen Cecilia still in a decent build here, 30k HP, almost 240 speed. I like her a little bit faster to cycle her barriers and the provokes, but the Aureus also helps keep my team alive, which is very, very nice. Next up is Arbiter Vildred. I don't think I've updated my Degen RB here in quite a while. Moonlight Dreamblade for the attack stat, and he has his EE as well to get Archdemon's Might if he dies. This is his current, oh, guys, his gear is insane, but his current gear here, especially that weapon, counter set, immunity set, he's just sitting there. I think I had one game that I played with him and he won, so that was kind of fun. Other than that, though, the only times I picked him were when I were trying to pick something else, but accidentally picked him instead. Next up is BBK. This is my BBK here. Man, remember when she was meta, but then Hecate came out, and then she was just gone? We have Hostess of the Banquet for 30 more effect resist, almost 200 effect res. Her EE here for the extra immortality, right, at the whenever she reaches lethal damage. And we, of course, have her on counter set and torrent set. The more damage we do, the better. Mine is a little bit lower on damage, right, than most BBKs, but she still gets the job done, especially against squishier teams without any way to strip her immortality, which is where you should be using her. Okay, next up is New Kid Aiden. This is actually a fun unit to use in Arena. I've been using her a lot to sweep Arena matches against Harsetti teams. She's also pretty good against Harsetti teams in general. I honestly need to re-gear her, make her just a full-on nuke, and then a little bit of bulk. And then I'll just take away all the speed. The only times I ever really bring Aiden are against Harsetti, so if I can make her more geared toward fighting Harsetti teams, I think the better. But yeah, this is her current stats here. She got penetration and destruction. If I can take away all the speed, maybe make this like an attack boot, get some more crit damage on there, I think we're going to be looking pretty solid. So keep an eye out for an update to New Kid Aiden soon. Remnant Violet is also a unit I sometimes run in PvE, but this is just the build I use for Hall of Trials, so if you guys want to know what I'm running for that, here's his build here. This is not really PvP viable, unfortunately. Lifesteal, penetration. I should gear him up, but with the introduction of Xeno coming out, guys, reducing evasion by 50% in general, not sure how I feel about that. Next up is Nurse, though, a unit I also don't know how to feel about because she is disgusting. We have a Master of the Nightmare, which is good for, you know, basic skill stuff. If you're running a faster one, run Secret Art Storm Sword. It's really good for cutting your opponents. I do need to speed her up. 250 is, I think, too slow, but speed and immunity build, this is what I currently have on her. I would like to make her faster, maybe like 280, 270, 280 speed. 290 speed would be really nice, but I know that's a pretty steep investment there. We'll see, though, what I decide to go for. But yeah, Nurse. I've had trouble using her in RTA. Whenever she's used against me, she tends to do really well, so I just ended up pre-banning her for most of the season. Next up is Briar Witch, another unit I really want to switch up. This is currently some random damage build I had going on her. Renewed Will is for when I equip her with a bunch of speed. I want her to be a really good opener for me, and I think she has the potential to do that. If I invest a lot of speed gear on her, maybe get a better speed EE here, it would be very, very beneficial to have an opener defense break unit that kind of punishes evasion, right? And so many times I have to fight units like Setsuka, and then she just lives with smidges of HP. It kind of sucks. Current gear that I have, unreforged chest, unfortunately, but not really needed, seeing as we already capped out on the crit rate and stuff. I had a better build before, but kind of lost it. The units were taking pieces and stuff from her because I wasn't using her. I don't think I drafted her, like, at all this season, but having a second option to prevent revives that's not Hakedi, that's also faster, that can let me play more aggressively into Ruel and Maid, I think would have been really nice this season. Next up is Hellion Lua. Oh, sorry, not Hellion Lua. She's not geared. Next up is Pirate Captain Flan. We got a pretty bulky build on Pirate Captain Flan. I like using her quite a bit. Star of the Deep Sea, best in-slot artifact for her. We have speed and HP set. She's really good right now with bridging units for your team with Zeo and such. I just use her because I like her design. I think she's fun. But yeah, there's other units that kind of outclass her in terms of performance, in terms of stunning and things. Witch of the Mirror Tenebra definitely being one of them, since you can't cleanse if she lands block. Alright, next up we have Seafan and Politis. I got the beautiful RTA skin here. She's on Awakened Leaf, which I love this artifact on her. Changes her to a really strong opener where you can push up the opponent in the back line, or push up your ally in the back line, allowing you to take turns and kind of prevent your opponent from cutting, right? I currently have her on 303 speed, 100 effectiveness. Would like more effectiveness on her, but she can soul burn to ignore res, which is a good thing. And she has a speed set right now with 2 offset pieces. Would like to make her a little bit faster. I think I can make her 310 speed, but I'm not sure if I want her to be the fastest unit on my team, or if I want to reserve that for maybe Briar Witch. We'll see. Next up we have Archdemon Shadow, so used her quite a bit this season actually. 270 speed, right? A little bit of bulk, a little bit of attack, and a decent amount of effectiveness. The Tagahel's Ancient Book is nice because she only uses 10 souls to soul burn, so we can just keep sealing units every turn. You can imprint her for attack, but I prefer to imprint my team for HP to keep them alive. And her EE here, I don't know why it's defense, honestly. It would have been even better if it was HP, but the fact that she triggers a dual attack with the ally with the highest attack is honestly kind of insane. It is what makes her so good. Couple her with Bison or Hua Young, she'll push up combat readiness. Couple her with Hakedi, for example. You can seal annoying units. You can push up Hakedi when she attacks with the combat readiness boost from her skill 1. So many different combos you can do. Such a strong unit, especially when you build her fast. Next up is Harsetti. We're almost there, guys. Harsetti here is a unit I tried to bring out multiple times. I think she was a 50-50 overall. Abyssal Crown is nice for stunning and stuff, but mostly the Destruction set, crit set here, with a little bit of effectiveness is nice. I think I'll boost up her effectiveness for future use. I think maybe foregoing crit damage and just going all in on effectiveness and stuff might work. The damage was kind of nice though when you paired her with Afternoon Soak Flan. You can finish off units like Rinok pretty easily, but I guess in those cases, if you had the effectiveness and you land the defense break, that's all you really need too. So there's the argument to be made there. We also have Wrecker and Rowana. I tried using her a few times, but most of the times you pick her, she does get banned. She's on a counter set and a hit set. This is actually a really fun build that I have here with almost 300 effectiveness. I think she has it with self-imprint. Yeah, there you go, 300 effectiveness. Typically you don't need all 300, so if I'm against a low-res team, I'll just team imprint for attack for more damage. But yeah, this is fun because she does live a couple hits with her bulk here, especially with a bit of defense that she has. So when they try to get rid of her and she counters and defense breaks them, you can see them sweating bullets. Next up is Shepherd of the Dark Diene. She is definitely optimized now in terms of her stat lines, which is wonderful. Tagahal's Ancient Book for some souls, which you'll love to see. And we have speed set, hit set right now. 22k health. The more health she has, the better. The more damage that you do. The crit damage also scales well with her damage overall. And we have a little bit of effectiveness just in case. Just in case. She doesn't have the immortality. Maybe you have a Katie, they have a Katie, they stripped it with Setsuka or something like that, right? It's always good to have. 230 something speed is okay. I feel like she still cuts perfectly with that speed, right? She gains 50% combat readiness, so there's no really contesting that. And yeah, you can have a lower defense because she has immortality. She doesn't really care about defense because you're not going to die anyway. Right, next up is Spectre Tenebria. We have her on Tagahel's Ancient Book, her EE here, which honestly is one of the few ML5 EEs that are super lackluster. I don't really like it. And this is her current build. Haven't used her in a hot second, but hey, she has some really decent gear on her with Lifesteal and Torrent here. Would like to use her in the near future, but there's too many AoE units out there. But the ability to not get countered, maybe it has a use. I don't know. Maybe against Iseria? I feel like Iseria is just going to one-shot her with a skill 3, though. Alright, and we have Zio. Zio is still on his old build. I never got a chance to switch him to a newer build, but that just means when I do take a turn with Zio, he is so far up the combat readiness bar, it is absolutely insane. Tagahel's Ancient Book here for some souls, obviously, to soul burn with him, and when he is imprinted with his self-imprint for effectiveness, he is at like 100% effectiveness, but as of right now with a team imprint for attack, 260 speed, a little bit of bulk, a little bit of damage, 50% crit rate because he gains 50% when he attacks, is all good. It's good enough. Okay, and last but not least, we have Death Dealer Ray. His build, I swear, changes every single time you guys see him, but he just gets spare gear. He's always geared just in case. In maybe I should build him slower, but in Harseti teams, it's kind of nice to have a really high effectiveness Death Dealer Ray that can control your opponent and such. It is kind of good, but I currently have him on Guardian Ice Crystals for some bit of healing, and he is sitting around 180 something effectiveness, which is not bad. A little bit of bulk, a little bit of speed, right? Not too shabby. Standard DDR stuff, I'd say. But yeah, that is gonna be it for the entire account overview, guys. Who do you think has been the MVP unit for you this season? For me, I think, it definitely has to be like one of the top picked units, right? Things like Rinok and such were used pretty much everywhere. I do need to get her onto a actual set here with the chip damage, right? I need to get rid of these HP sets. Anyway, though, with that being said, though, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.